vinyl resurgence? To us, vinyl never left. Welcome in to the Vinyl Community Podcasts.
Yo, buddies. Welcome back. Vinyl Community Podcasts coming at you. Concert Buddie here. Going to have a great conversation, talking collectors talk, talking vinyl records, maybe some game talk. We're going to do it all. This is going to be a full facet presentation. I am joined for this conversation on Vinyl Community Podcasts by Charlie. If you're on YouTube, you know him better as SeeJayAre. Welcome, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to get into this conversation.
It's going to be good. And I have to preface this. Our friend is a Canadian, so there's going to be an avalanche of good manners coming at you. So I don't want you, no judgment. Friends of the show, Rob, Northern Revolution's Canadian. All our Canadian friends are going to pick this up. So just want to warn you.
Guys might get a little confused when I start talking about the weather and measurements or no
maple syrup talk. The maple syrup is where we start losing viewers, and it goes all downhill for there.
I'm in Southern Ontario, so I'm as American as a Canadian gets. So I still think in feet. You know, the only thing that I really use is Celsius when it comes to weather. But other than
fair enough. And you got a Tigers hat on for the people watching,
right?
So that's good. You're going American baseball. You could wear a Blue Jays hat like my friend Rob does because he's a Blue Jays and Canadians guy. So thank you for keeping America's game American.
Yeah, I Blue Jays first, but Detroit's my second team. We're in pretty close proximity to Detroit, a couple hours, maybe 3-4 hours away. So a lot of Detroit sports fans in this area and Buffalo.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, if you can tell, if you're watching this on the video, got a little video game effect. We're going to get in this. This is going to be like a big mashup. And if you're familiar with Charlie's channel, if you're not, I'm about to educate you. Almost 93,000 subscribers. I built a great base based on what we're going to get into the meat of the conversation. Garage sale master. I'm going to call you the garage sale master because you built a insane game collection through the power of garage sailing. Right behind you, you've got looks like a very strong record collection, which is where my home base is. I'm assuming also through the same kind of means, just hitting the pavement, getting at it. So want to pick your brain because there are good things that you can still find at the garage sale, at the thrift, et cetera, et cetera. But let's kick it off with what the audience is probably used to on this channel, on this podcast, vinyl records. And when I was watching your videos a couple years ago, focusing on the game stuff, I was pleasantly surprised to find out you actually collect records. Where did that start? Is there DJing involved? I thought I saw like a double deck one time. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, musically, my love for music came from my dad. He was kind of a music geek, stereo geek, always testing out new stereo equipment, installing subwoofers in the back of our station wagon.
Nice.
So it really was kind of instilled through him, right? Like I think that's probably common for a lot of people, right? I don't know if many people find music from on their own. I'm sure it happens, but typically I find that it's kind of passed down from the parents, a love for music. And for me, it was my dad. And it was, with him, it was all classic rock or just rock at the time. So it was probably the 80s. So just always had a love for music. And then that transitioned real quick. I remember with his stereo, we were able to pick up a station from Buffalo, WBLK. And I really got into at an early age into urban, hip hop, R&B, and fell in love with that side of music. Right. So, I don't know. I had an older sister, so there was a lot of in the late 80s, a lot of, hip hop was really catching on, and definitely in Canada. So I remember being, I don't know, probably 11, 12, listening to Naughty by Nature and, all that kind of stuff. And early 90s R&B. I hate to admit it, but I was a huge Vanilla Ice fan back in
the Ice Man. There you go. Yes, sir.
I love that music too, right? And it was, and I always loved the classic rock. My dad was a big Stones guy, AC/DC, CCR, so it was kind of my music my journey in terms of being a fan of music is pretty eclectic, right? So I'd say like my specialty or what I know best is 90s hip hop, right? So that's my true love. But I also grew up in an area, let's just say Canada in the 80s and 90s was as white as it could be, right? But by the, so it was just a lot of, grunge, which I loved,
Sure.
all into the grunge, Nirvana, Soundgarden. And I kind of felt like I straddled both sides in the 90s, right? So I think that's common now for people to really be into multiple genres. But back then I felt like I was almost torn between these two loves of totally different types of music, right? So anyways, my dad had a record collection back in the day, which I inherited at one point. He wasn't like a hardcore collector and never like a music historian, and like he loved music, but he wasn't deep into like knowing everything about every single band. And the amount of concerts that man went to, though, he has seen a lot of big bands, everything from the Beatles to the Stones. He's seen them all. Anyways, that's where that was instilled in me. And then when it comes to garage sailing, it was a natural thing for me, looking for video games first off, but always had that love of music. And when I was going to sales, I was seeing bins full of records, and just started picking those up and got myself a turntable, and it all kind of snowballed from there.
So is it safe to say that a lot of your record collection, or most, or 100%, tell me, was predicated on these garage sale adventures? And if not that, what you're finding and then flipping to then buy like the stuff you're not finding, kind of like what you do with games?
Probably to a lesser extent with records. So let me think here. I'd say 80% is probably garage sales. I inherited a family friend's collection. I inherited my dad's collection. Maybe more like 90, actually. I've got a couple squares worth of Amazon pickups, like more newer or reissues of vinyl stuff that I'm never going to find at a garage sale. It's very hard, as I'm sure. For me, well, it's very hard here to find much else aside from classic rock country at garage sales. It's rare that I come across. Certainly never any reggae, rare, a little bit of rap here and there, and some Motown R&B stuff I'll find, but it's mostly classic rock.
So I'm picturing, and tell me if I'm wrong, Charlie, you're going to a garage sale or some records, and it's just overflowing with like the Tragically Hip or Blue Rodeo, or
I wish. To be honest, it's probably very similar to down there. It's, I'm sure, Neil Diamond, I don't know, Paul Yanka, Engelbert Humperdinck.
Hey, let's put some respect on Herb Alpert's name. Okay, everyone needs the Herb Alpert.
Charlie Pride. Every garage sale, Charlie Pride, Neil Diamond. There's going to be one of those two in that bin for sure. Yeah, I would love to come across a bunch of Blue Rodeo, Tragically Hip, but that's rare. It's
I like it. Well, let's talk about, let's level set a little bit. I kind of kicked it off with, you're on the precipice. It's one of the reasons I want to talk to you, on the precipice of the 100,000 subtotal. And as we kind of talked about, your channel is the foundation, and probably what most people know you for is the video game pursuing. So kind of walk us back through the decision to start a YouTube channel. Was it like a lot of us, we see other people doing it, and we want to kind of have things to offer that particular community and so forth. Like, so start us at the ground zero of your YouTube experience.
Yeah, that's a really unique journey, and it's actually, my story is pretty crazy. I can trace starting my YouTube channel by myself in my basement to like where I am now in my career. Like I, do social media, content marketing. I was able to transition me in my basement. At first, I didn't even so I'm an extreme introvert.
Wait, a record collector is an introvert? I find this hard to believe.
So when I first made my YouTube channel, I didn't show my face. My voice was trembling. I was so nervous. There wasn't many people doing it. So what happened was I had my Nintendo in my dad's cabana out by the pool, pulled it out. We were playing some duck hunt, had lots of fun. So I started kind of searching for games. First off, it was stuff that I had when I was a kid.
Yep.
And then, of course, that turned into buying everything under the sun that I didn't have the chance to own as a kid. I grew up, middle class. I had a paper route, so I'd get a game for a birthday or Christmas, and anything else I had to pretty much buy on my own with my paper route money. So, I started buying stuff back. And then when was that? That was probably 2008, 9. Yeah, 2008, 2009. So there wasn't many people on YouTube doing that. Really, it was just a couple guys, right? I initially found this blog of these two people, Dom and Liz. It's still around. Dom and Liz's Yard Sale Adventures. And it was a weekly blog. They would go out, they would take pictures. Here's what we found. Here's the story for each find. And then they were finding like ultra rare video games and they were getting it for like $5. Mm-hmm. So like somebody's entire, I don't know, Nintendo collection with 30 games, and they were paying like $8 for the entire thing. It was wild even back then I was like, wait, you offered them $5? Like it was so low. So that got me into that. I was like, so that the light bulb went off. So I started collecting, but the light bulb started to go off with like, oh, I should try garage sales. And then I started finding all this crazy stuff at garage sales, and I just wanted to share my excitement. Like, my partner at the time or my friends can only care so much, like they were, they would humor me of like, oh, that's cool, but, or like people friends of mine are into gaming, but, more on a surface level, Madden or Call of Duty or something. Right. Sure. So I was really geeking out about the stuff I was finding, and I was looking for people to do the same with, to be like, hey, look what I found. Isn't this cool? So yeah, then I found a couple guys on YouTube. They were showing their pickups. It was early days of pickup videos. And I was like, well, I don't know how I'm going to do this, get on camera, but I certainly I don't have the personality for this, but neither did they. So maybe that's what motivated me, because I was like, oh, these guys are just guys in their basement, right? Like I can do this too, I guess, even though it terrifies me. And and it's, it took a long time to get traction, and it's been a long journey to 92,000 subscribers. I don't know if I'll ever hit that 100,000.
Oh, come on. Listen, this is the push you needed. You're going to get you're getting the full force of the vinyl community now, Charlie. It's
wait. I'll have to tell the story about my one vinyl video that I put on my
please. Hold on.
So yeah, it's just it's these days I find that people are less likely to subscribe. Like I don't subscribe to a whole lot of channels these days. So it's a real it's going to be very tough for me to get to 100,000. It's probably going to take years, and that's okay. I just think it'd be cool to have a little plaque there, So do my boys. My boys think that would be the coolest thing ever. Yeah. I don't need that validation, but I never started this channel to get any sort of little bit of fame or money. And I really just started the channel to share my excitement for my hobbies. And, I've found an audience, which is great. And people are absolutely amazing on my followers. So it's been great.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of the cues are very similar to a lot of other people I've talked to in the vinyl community proper about, wanting to connect, wanting to share their experience, wanting to kind of, collaborate, maybe, you know what I mean? Like meet other people, like maybe that's like a second or tertiary kind of motivation. But the main thing is a passion behind the content and what you're doing. But then also like a lot of the things you're talking about, like the motivation was I saw somebody else, I can do this. And then it's grown. What kind of things have you learned along the way? Obviously, there's the tech part of it, which you don't need to get into so much, but like just best practices. You go to a yard sale, and some people don't want to be filmed. How do you kind of navigate? Like, what's your general wrap when you approach a sale?
Yeah, first thing I say is, "Good morning. How are you doing?" Break the ice a little bit, and then it's straight into, "I'm looking for old video games. You wouldn't happen to have." So I don't know, for anybody that's garage selling out there and wants to try this. You need to ask. Number one, you always have to ask people at the sale, no matter what no matter what you're looking for, vinyl records, fishing stuff, ask if they have it and be extremely specific. So in my case, it's not good enough just to say, hey, do you have any video games? They say no. Okay, thanks, bye. It's like it'll get awkward. I'll say, hey, you wouldn't happen to have any old video games? I'm looking for, Nintendo, Game Boy, Sega Genesis, N64, Nintendo GameCube, PlayStation, Atari, and I'll just keep listing. And you would be surprised how many times they'll be like, oh, wait, we do have a, I don't know, N64. Because for whatever reason, video games didn't do it. Actually mentioning it does. So
sure.
That's the wrap. When I hit these sales, there are times I do ask for records from time to time, but it's typically I'm on the hunt for retro video game stuff.
Sure. And how long have you been doing this? I mean, obviously doing it before you started the YouTube channel in conjunction with the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think it's been probably 13 years now. Because I remember my son was just born and he was my companion at first in the car seat.
You have all those papushkas or whatever they call them, a papoose. You're walking around.
Oh yeah. No, he had to stay in the car because it would have taken. You could imagine of unhooking a child every single time.
I've been there. Yep.
And that's the thing, moving fast, right? Like I'm in and out of sales. It's a numbers game. The more sales I can hit, the better, the more opportunity I have to find what I'm looking for. And yeah, records were just, out at sales, stereo equipment, man. Like,
yes,
stuff I find is wild. Like I've built, this stuff not here, but I've posted recently on my Instagram this entire setup that I had that I think I paid maybe $100 for, speakers I found in the garbage, clips, speakers on the side of the road in the garbage. Yeah, it's wild, the stuff I'm able to find. Honestly, if there's too much.
I saw a post you had of some speaker stands that were like perfect. Like it's just like anything else, just timing goes right, and then it's just another add-on to what you're building.
Yeah, and it's like anything, right? So same with records. If I find a record I already have, if it's in better condition, I swap it out. Yep. Same thing with stereo gear, right? Like if I found that this really cool Techniques SL5, I think it is, turntable. So I swapped that out for the Yamaha I had, and yeah, so I'm always kind of in the upgrading process.
That's awesome. How do you find out about these garage sales? Because I know there's like certain apps, and I've kind of dipped my toes in it as I've been, I'm kind of like records first, game second kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So very similar process. Like if I don't see it, I'll ask for it kind of thing. But in terms of finding the sales, I find that's often the hardest part. And based from your videos, like you hit it early, which I think everybody probably should do, but it seems like you cover a wide base. Like how do you kind of map out like a normal day, and how do you find these sales?
Yeah. So, the apps don't work.
All right. Thank you. It's not just me. I thought it was just me. I'm like, everyone else has this figured out.
Yeah, not here at least. There was one called G Sailor for a while that seemed to kind of work for about a year or two. But here in Canada, we have Kijiji. It's like our Craigslist. That was a thing I used for a while. I would check all the listings on there, make a map on Google Maps, just kind of plot points. But typically these days, since COVID kind of changed things for the worse. There's less garage sales than there was before. Okay. And it hasn't really seemed to have come back. Now it's just a matter of community sales. So there's a Facebook page. I'm in Southern Ontario. So it's Ontario Community Sales Facebook page or whatever. And basically each week it'll list, okay, this small town's having a town-wide sale, this one here. And then it's just planning, at least in May and June, that's when most of them are. We're driving, up to an hour away to go to these community sales because, there's 150 sales at them sometimes. And,
wow.
It's your best chance of finding stuff. Like I said, it's a numbers game, and the goal is to hit as many sales as possible. And that's the way to do it. So I would recommend that would be where I would start, looking in your area for community sales within an hour. You may have to get up super early. You may have to drive, but it's what you have to do. You got to put in work, to put yourself in a position to find stuff. And then also and just in my town here, I have a route, so we're going out tomorrow. There's no townwide sales. So we'll just do my route. It's just basically a big loop of the two cities it's like a twin city thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Population's about 500,000. We do our loop of like the main streets and then, find what we find.
Is Saturdays the main garage sale day? Because I know sometimes some people start them as early as Wednesday in the week. Sometimes it's Thursday through Saturday. Sometimes Sundays.
That is not a thing here. You will see the odd sale on Friday, but 99% of them are on Saturday here. I know I see in the States in some spots people are having them on Thursdays, and that's not really a thing here. It's usually Saturdays. Yeah.
Well, tell me about. I always find this one interesting because, like, when I've had garage sales, like, sold my stuff sometimes, you put out the sale starts at a certain time, and then some of these vultures, I'll call them, and I mean a term of endearment. They're hours ahead of time. Is that kind of how you operate, or like do you kind of toe the line? Like, what do you think about people who are like camping out well in advance of the advertisement?
I have some shame. So I'm not the first guy. I'm not the guy. So typically a town-wide sale, they'll advertise it'll start at 8, but we always have to be there at 7, right? So that's the standard time. You get there early. There's a lot of sales that will start at 7, but there's guys there now at 6:30. Maybe even a bit earlier. They're coming up and asking. That to me is crazy. But it's a fine line. There's a way to do it, right? So I approach cautiously. The first thing I say is, "Hey, I'm sorry to bother you. I know you're not quite set up, but we're just looking for old video game stuff. Would you happen to have anything like that?" And if you do it like that, it's been okay. It's rare that I get somebody like, "Oh, the odd time someone's been like, we don't start till this time or come back then."
Sure.
Like, yeah, okay, no problem. I get it. I could see how it's annoying. I've had garage sales, where people are showing up super early. And you're trying to set up, but yeah, like I said, if you approach slowly, "Hey, good morning. Sorry to bother you. I know you're not quite set up. I'm looking for this or that, so.
What about the practice? I've always found this interesting because I've been out hustled in this manner. Sometimes, especially if it's like Facebook Marketplace is a thing, probably in your area, I would assume too, right?
Yeah.
If somebody makes an advert for that, and then people will call ahead and try to like jump the gun, you see that pretty frequently where you are?
I do. And in the early days, oh man, I should touch on some of my not so well, I don't know what the word.
Lay it on us. This is an uncensored situation.
Shady tactics that I used in the early days. Yeah, no, I was doing that early on, emailing, messaging the people to see, "Hey, do you have this, this, and this?" And to be honest, it almost never works. It's very rare. All you're really doing is kind of alerting people to what they have might be worth something.
Drive it up, pull it back. Yep.
Yeah, and then what happens is they just put it out their sale for more money. It's like callbacks, right? Callbacks never ever pan out.
Sure.
Like I'm talking like 1 to 2% of the 100 times I've given out my number to someone of like, "Oh, we'll give you a call." I've had 2, maybe 3 in 10 to 13 years of garage selling. It never happens, and it's very similar with reaching out for stuff. It just doesn't work. So I haven't done it. I know people still do it. And I'm sure people find, once in a while they do score. But, I've also been to sales where someone like, "Oh yeah, 3 people have emailed me." And, we get talking. I'm like, "Yeah, we're looking for this." And I list everything. And they're like, "Oh, we do have an N64. So there's a way to do that too, right? You have to be extremely specific when you're emailing too. So I just find it doesn't work. The shady story I will say is, early on, it was just me and 2 other guys. That was it, right? In the early days, there wasn't much competition. The one guy I developed a relationship with, and we always happy to see him find stuff. We trade, and but the other guy we didn't like, so I put up a fake sale ad for like, like a town next door. And I was like, "Yeah, video games, blah, blah, blah," hoping that it would draw them out there and we would have, the rest of the town to ourselves. I only did it the one time, and this guy was kind of a dick. So
Wow,
yeah,
scandalous!
those
Breaking
those
news. We might have to edit this one out, Charlie. I don't know. We don't.
those were
I said the
the
Canadians are so nice, and then he's doing this very strategic maneuver. Look out! That's funny.
Oh, there's also been times where I've been ready to fight people at garage sales too. Yeah, like so the one thing I would never do, and the one thing you don't do, is stick yourself into someone else's deal, right? No matter how much you don't like that person, if they're in the middle of a deal, don't be that guy that says, "Oh, whatever he offers you, I'll offer you this much more." Or, "Oh, I'm interested too," or like that. That drives me nuts. And it's usually people that are just out garage selling. They don't know the etiquette, but there's been times where I've just wanted to kill people for doing that. So, yeah, don't be that person.
It sounds like record show etiquette, because I've been known to kind of be digging in the bins, and I'll kind of hear a deal going in front of me, and I'm like, I'm gonna, because you can learn if maybe somebody's got a pricing threshold, or maybe somebody's just, the seller is out of their mind and they're not going to work with them. But I'm like I'll lay back in the cut, and then I'll kind of wait. And there was a Counting Crows record that I got. A friend of mine, we had like a record show in our area, and a guy had posted it on the page, like, "Hey, I'm bringing this Counting Crows record. Great. It's a very rare record." And he brought it, and I didn't know who he was. I didn't know him from Steve, whatever. So I'm at my friend's little booth, and we're talking, and here comes the Counting Crows guy. And he pitched it to my friend. My friend has a record store, and so, he's my friend. So they were I was letting the deal materialize, and my friend's explaining, like, I can only give you this because I've got to make this on it. And I know he saw the price online. It's like probably like video games. Like, they've already seen the price online, so they're trying to leverage some of that. My friend couldn't do the deal, but I waited, and then I swooped in, and I said, "I'll give you this for it." Did the deal. So there's a science. There's a subtleness to it, but sometimes you got to be direct. I think being direct is probably your best ammunition.
Being a normal, like, sociable human being really helps in these situations of just like just being able to talk to people, right? In a way that, like, often I have to try and convince people to get stuff out. It's and doing that in a certain way, there's a certain way to do it. And maybe in the video game end of things, people don't always, I'm not trying to say that people who are into video games are basement dwellers, obviously, but there's a lot of people in that realm that maybe don't have the social skills, and it can be harder for them to find things.
I think that's a fair way to put it. Let's go into something that's really exciting, and exciting then, exciting now, exciting in the future is through garage sailing. You built this epic, and we'll have all the links for Charlie's channel that you can check this out. But game room of all game rooms, got to be like a Mount Rushmore situation. I mean, you had everything built through garage sailing, just hitting it, sticking with it, etc. And then you had some life changes, and you had to kind of get off of the game room. Kind of walk us through that, because obviously don't need to get into the personal piece of it, but just in terms of like, okay, I've got to change space, I've got to move this off. How I mean, it had to be daunting. It is daunting to assemble, but then daunting to disassemble. So kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, I'm an open book. So I went through a divorce. That just involved me having to liquidate a good chunk of my collection to pay for bills, pay legal bills. Had to give her her cut, which sucked. But I was happy to have it, right? Like, it saved my ass, because I found all of this stuff through garage sales. I didn't have, this is still hard for some people to believe, but I literally had nothing into it except for time and effort. And, over the years of buying a box of video games for $50 and keeping the 10 that I needed and flipping the rest for much more than that and snowballing that, and my collection is actually free. That may sound wild to people, but my entire collection of at one point 6,700 games, the records, completely free. I'm probably made a little bit of money even on top of that, right? So everything I make goes right back into the collection. So my point is that I didn't have like all of this, I didn't have a lot of money invested in it, right? So yeah, it sucked to let it go, but I'm glad that I had that there to pull me out of that debt that I had from it. And it can become a burden, absolutely, having that much stuff. It was not fun disassembling, moving all that, putting it in storage. You know, I've always had this thing of like, oh, I'd like to pass it down to my boys, and that there's just no way. All I would really do is burden them with that much stuff, right? Like, and it would just sit in storage, and who knows what would happen. So it made me kind of realize that, you know, at some point I had to sell my collection, you know, at least to some extent. It had to happen at some point. So yeah, I've kind of come to terms with that. I'm going to bring the collection down to a more manageable level, and just kind of keep the stuff that I really want to keep in terms of video games. None of the records went anywhere. That was probably your follow-up question.
It was my follow-up. That's right.
Yeah, and to be honest, there, like that, I mean, I didn't want to sell any of that. You know, this will be with me until I die. Awesome. I will never. This will be the last thing I would sell. And partially that is just because of, I could imagine the pain in the ass of trying to sell a record collection, man. Like, so I'll get into my little story of the one YouTube video that I made on record. I did like a collection video, right? And because like I found these at garage sales, right, for nothing, you know, like $20 for a bin of records. And, you know, so maybe I don't baby my records the way that some people do. Apparently, I found out in the vinyl community, like the way that people handle records is like surgical, right? Like, so I'm in this video, like I'm grabbing a record. I have them in stacks like this. Okay. Yes, I know I'm not supposed to store. I wasn't storing them like that. I just put them on the table.
Temporary.
And,
yes.
Yeah. And people were like, oh, don't, you know, like, man, the comments on this video, it really kind of like, I was like, wow, record collecting people are right? Not anymore, but back then,
they're social scientists, so to speak. Talking about the video, you got a lot of feedback, probably not of the most kind.
Right. So you know what it is? I will say particular. Vinyl collectors seem to be very particular, right?
Fair way.
So I was grabbing a record, you know, I'd be like, oh yeah, I got the Fuji's the score, and then like I would set it down, you know, I wasn't like that. I was like, you know, I put it like this, you know, just drop it on top, you know, and people were like, he's throwing his records around. It's like, calm down, man. Throwing the records, like I would grab one like this and I'd put it down. Grab another one, put it down. Oh yeah, and then I can't remember. There was one, you know, I had to look at the spine on a Led Zeppelin record. You know, back then, almost 10 years ago, I hadn't gone down the Led Zeppelin rabbit hole yet. Now, like in recent years, so it's only been in the past 3 years that I've really come to love and appreciate Led Zeppelin, which is the amazing part about record collecting. Absolutely. Right? Like I'm always on this journey of finding new stuff, even new genres. And anyway, so yeah, they were flaming me for the way I was handling the records. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm not throwing anything. Like, okay, how am I supposed to? Like, I don't know what people are expecting me to do and how to handle them, but I don't know. And maybe that comes down to, like I said, finding them at garage sales for nothing. Maybe if I had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on these, I probably would be, you know, handling them with white gloves or whatever.
Sure. Well, you raise an interesting point too, because yeah, you're spot on that a record collector can be quite studious to the condition. And in games, it's important too. You don't want like, you know, clean labels. You're looking for like 5 screws.
It's much easier though. And that's what I mean about selling, right? So I know it would be a bunch of vinyl collectors coming to buy this and they'd be checking for every little scratch, which I understand. So the idea of selling this would just, I don't know, it'd be an absolute nightmare for me. And
how many pieces do you have in your record collection? Do you have a catalog through like a Discogs or like a spreadsheet or something?
I don't. There's another thing that, like, oh my God, man. Like I went down that road and I got probably 2 cubicles in, you know, just the difference in pressings, mono, you know, like, I'm like, I can't do this. And at some point I will have to do it, right? Like I'm pretty decent now at having an idea of what I have, at least on the classic rock end. And of course, anything that I bought over the years from Amazon.
Sure.
But I'll have to do it at some point. But that absolutely terrifies me, of just like trying to input and trying to figure out exactly which version of Nirvana Nevermind I own, you know? So that's why I haven't done that. But yeah. Anyway, so I never made a YouTube video about record collecting again.
One and done. Well, as someone as entrenched in this YouTube vinyl community. They're out there, even if you know what you're doing or if you don't want to know what you're doing, they're just out there. But you raise a good point, and this kind of leads me to my next question about the vinyl community as you understand it versus, let's call it, the retro game community, because there's a lot of folks, I'm thinking like the Retro Ricks and the Pixel Game Squad, those kind of guys who are in that space as well. What kind of like similarities, differences, impressions do you kind of see between what you know of the vinyl community and the retro game community?
Yeah, I haven't really truthfully been involved in the retro vinyl community. It wasn't until recently, actually, that I started watching vinyl community videos, right? I've always just been, I'd collect, I'd get vinyl, I'd find a basket of records or, a stack of records. I'd come home, I'd throw one on, if it was something I didn't know. And I would throw it on while I was cleaning and processing all the video games that I got, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I love that because I discovered so many, not just new bands or new artists, but songs from those artists. Because I just find that, records lend themselves to playing through more than, being able to skip on.
No, it's a time investment. It's conscientious, right. It's intentional, however you do it, from putting it on the turntable to taking it off to everything. And so to be able to multitask is awesome, because then you can get some stuff done while you're also simultaneously enjoying. That's great.
Absolutely. And so maybe I never really considered myself part of the vinyl collecting community, because I don't know, my collection is kind of weird, right? Like I buy the odd record that I really want from Amazon, if it's something I really want, and then I just pick up stuff from garage sales. I've never really gone out and to seek a certain album at a record store, say, So it wasn't until recently that I started looking at, because I was doing, I'm building a new game room. I built this new setup here in the new house. This is in like my office. So I was looking at like setup videos.
Sure.
And I stumbled across channel 33.
Oh, Frank, a fellow Canadian, Frank Landry. Yes. Channel 33 RPM. Yes.
So I think I watched every single one of his, oh my God, vinyl room.
The vinyl dens. Yes.
Vinyl dens.
Frank's been on the channel. Frank's a great guy.
Yeah. So I just kind of fell down that rabbit hole, right? And so that's really the only vinyl community content that I've ever really consumed, to be honest, aside from tips on how to clean,
Sure.
tech tips for, needles or turntables, stuff like that. So
fair enough. Cool. Well, tell us about, before we get into the lightning round, which I think is everybody's favorite part of these conversations, tell us about what I've affectionately called SeeJayAre 2.0, because obviously life change, new house, sold the game room. Kind of talk us through, because your channel went dark. I think was it like 2 years? It went dark as all this was going on. And then I think it was literally the end of April. It probably would have been better timed on April 1st to come back with the new video, because I didn't know what to believe at first. I said, is this new? Like, he's back. Like, what's going on here, right?
I just lost the drive to, to be honest with you, I lost the drive to do a lot of things. It was a dark time,
of course.
And it's like, I just wasn't enjoying any of my hobbies. I wasn't playing. There was a period where I didn't even go down to my game room. I bet you I was down there once in a year in my game room, and that was often just to grab something that was just happened to be down there. So I really wasn't enjoying any of my hobbies. So
you weren't even garage sailing during this time? Like, you weren't
I was doing that. That'll never end.
Never stop.
No, I was going garage sailing. I was still picking stuff up.
Still picking up Matt. Still maybe not filming the adventures, but still having it, right?
That's it. I just wasn't filming it, right? And
got it.
So I just kind of lost the drive to do that. And also, to be truthful, it was even a little bit before that, right? Before stuff changed in my life, that I had kind of stepped away a bit from the channel and was posting less. And, I do it for work. I edit videos all day and social stuff and marketing stuff. And sometimes it's hard to want to do that again in your spare time. And
of course.
So I went to a Nintendo event where I got to see the Switch 2, and I was like, I'm going to do a video, and I enjoyed doing the video, posting the video. And so I was like, okay, I might be back. And unfortunately, I've said that in the past of like, hey guys, I'm back. So I didn't want to go down that road, but it's been 2 months and I'm posting videos like crazy still. So I think it's official. I'm back, and it's been nice. Like my community, my followers, my subscribers are amazing. Like, it's just like the support, like when stuff happened, people reached out, like hundreds of people.
Awesome.
Encouragement, or similar stories, and I was able to help a few people through a few things after I went through it and
Great.
dealt with it all. And when I came back, everybody's just super supportive, and everyone's just been wonderful. So that drives me as well.
So as you're now making videos back on the regular, showing the new, like we talked about before we started, the new game room is under construction, literally as we're having this conversation. Do you have any kind of, are you just going to do it because it's fun and because it's, just what you enjoy doing? Or do you have any kind of goals? Obviously, we talked about the 100K and that will happen at some point, but what are your thoughts for this 2.0 experience?
Yeah. So the game room, I did a video on this recently. Don't know if you saw it, but it'll be, I'm doing something that I don't think anyone's done. The game room is going to be divided by decades. So I'm going to have my current generation area with all of the newest, latest systems. And then it's going to go from 2000s. The basement's kind of a U shape. So it's going to wrap around 2000s, 90s, 80s, 70s. And instead of having one dedicated area for all my games, one for music or movies, it's just going to be done by decades. So everything from the 90s. I mean, do I really want to break up my record collection by decades and only put them in those areas? Probably not.
Work, I'm telling you.
Probably all the record stuff will go in like the 70s area, and I'll have like I'm hoping to find some wood paneling and an old console, floor model TV, ugly couch, and decorate it appropriately, and then move into the 80s and have video games, physical media in general. I have started picking up tapes over the years here and there. I've picked that up a little bit more now, and CDs I'm buying again. So I'd like to have a decent little collection of both of those. And then I was like, okay, well, if I have these 4 or 5 unique areas by decade, I've also got 4 or 5 sets for videos, right? So if I want to do something talking about something from the 70s era, I can do it in that area, in that section of the game room. So I think that'll be pretty cool for content, at least. But it's just going to be a matter of really getting everything down there, getting it on shelves, then probably moving into position, still deciding what I want to keep and what I want to let go of. So it'll be easier once it's all down there.
Well, it's exciting. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And I know viewers like myself who have been watching from the sidelines all these years are excited to see that. Before we get to lightning round, one more for you, because I've noticed this too as I've talked to obviously vinyl collectors and some folks in this retro game community. Collectors collect. And do you think it's fair to say that, like you're just talking about, you just started picking up tapes and stuff?
Yeah.
We collect what we like. We collect what we have a personal, maybe emotional attachment. Do you think that's a fair assessment that, like, you can be a game collector? Like, it's hard to, like, a collector's a collector. And yes, you lean into one probably more than the other, but collectors collect. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah. And when I look back, in my late teens, I had, I think, close to 500-600 CDs. Shortly after that, I got heavy into collecting DVDs, so it's always been there for me, which is interesting because, my parents never really collected anything. They weren't really into it, but absolutely I'm a collector. And, I get a little obsessive, I think, about collecting. For a while, it was RC cars. Oh my God, I got heavy into RC cars, which are still a ton of fun, and I do use those, but I get heavy into collecting things. And then the nice thing with these collections, right, is that, I'm getting them at garage sales.
Sure.
It's not something that's gonna, I totally understand people, people make money and they have disposable income, and good on you if that, you spend that however you want. But for me, like, I don't know, like I probably wouldn't be I guess my point is I wouldn't be into collecting this heavy if it weren't for garage sales,
Of course. Yeah. The main thing is don't be running up them credit cards. And
that's it. I'd have that would be my collection right there. And I'd be more than happy,
Sure.
Like I don't need any of this stuff, I'm not defined by anything in my collection. I've, realized that as I've had to sell some of it. I'm just in a lucky place where I'm able to find a bunch of really cool stuff in the wild at garage sales. And because I can do it so cheaply, I like to hold on to it.
Sure, I can appreciate that. Hustle's a muscle. That's what I always like to say. You put in the
Right,
work,
right.
like you said. If you put in the work, you're gonna reap the spoils. And sometimes you go to these things. I go to record shows. You go to garage sales. It's a bust. On to the next.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's like you said earlier. It's a numbers game, and it's just a matter of putting in the work. So, all right.
Yeah, I always like to. Sorry, I always like to keep it. I always phrase it as like, you know, I don't like to use family money on my hobbies. So
Sure.
whatever comes in through my check through bills, I try and use this as a side hustle to fund my hobbies. You know, so if I find something at a garage sale and flip it somewhere else, that money always, like, I don't want to put that towards bills, or, you know, I want to put that's like, if I want I don't know, a new set of speakers, then I enjoy them much more if I am able to fund it through my side hustle. So.
I like it. It sounds like friend of the show, Brandon, Mr. Hall of Fame, one of the originals of the vinyl community on YouTube. Same thing. He tells a very similar story of buying small, keeping, adding on, selling off, etc. And it's more. I think it's more rewarding when you do it that way.
Yeah, I agree. I rarely ever feel bad about a purchase,
right?
Because, you know, I know it's typically done through side hustle money.
So, sorry, boys, we can't have dinner tonight. I've got to get some new Macintosh tube amps.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's not like that. All right, Charlie, we made it lightning round. A very Canada-focused lightning round, because I don't have, I've had Frank Landry on. I said Rob, Northern Revolution, a friend of mine. I'm building a following in Canada, so I've got to ask, a true Canadian. Number one, the best all-time athlete from Canada is...
Oh my God, I read the questions early, and I've been thinking about this for days. Okay, so we got, I don't know, let me think here. Steve Nash, who was a 2-time MVP. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who's the current MVP of the NBA.
Right.
Donovan Bailey, who I don't know if you know in the
90s, track,
fastest man on the planet. Ben Johnson, shout out to Ben Johnson, who was also the fastest man.
Steroids are bad, kids.
and was a scapegoat. Everyone was doing the steroids, but poor Ben was the one who got busted. Surprising athlete that I've realized in the past few years was Wayne Gretzky. So there's some interesting videos that I've come across on social. Apparently there was some sort of show where they pitted a bunch of athletes against each other. And I want to say Sugar Ray Leonard was in there. Ozzie Smith, I think, was competing in this maybe. And he was just dusting everybody. There was a 100-meter match, and Gretzky just... So maybe, like, I'm not a hockey guy, but I mean, the Canadian in me, I guess I'm going to have to go Wayne Gretzky.
Attaboy, that's the right answer. I didn't want to say it, but that was the correct. There is a correct answer on this one.
You know, we've had a ton of baseball players, you know, Larry Walker. We've had some decent baseball players and a couple guys in the NFL, but yeah, I'm going to have to go with the classic Wayne Gretzky.
Love it. All right, so let's go back to music for a second. If you could reunite one band for one show, and again, we suspend conventional thinking. So if you're resurrecting the deceased, it's okay. Who would it be and why?
Man, I don't have a good answer for this either. I'm going to go with a very obscure Canadian rap group.
Tom Green. Tom Green's rap group. Is this?
Yes.
No way.
I'm not joking. That's exactly what I was going to say. Oh my God. I thought that's crazy. Yeah, that's exactly it. Organized rhyme. Yeah.
Organized rhyme. I mean, this is literally, I meant to bring up Tom Green earlier when you're talking, and then I was like, oh man. So
check the OR. Check the OR. I was just going to leave it there. I didn't think you'd have any idea. I'd be like, yeah, check them out. There's this really good underground Canadian rap group from the 90s.
Listen, us divorced dads. I call it the DDD, the divorced dad. No, DDC, Divorced Dads Club. And I think we're on that level, Charlie. It's just how it works.
That's hilarious. I didn't think anybody get that reference, so that's awesome.
Love it. All right, so let's go. And this can be game or records, but I think it'll probably be games. What was your fondest or greatest grail find in the wild? What I like to call it's an oh shit moment, like where you find something that you just can't believe. Literally, it's right there because it's just so unbelievable that you're just going to find it through happenstance.
Yeah, so video games is easy. A few years ago, and this is on, the cool thing is I have these ones on video, right? So asked if the lady had any games. She said her husband had some. She went to go check, and he came out with a bin, like a tub of games. I could see through the plastic, Super Nintendo, and I was just like, hey, I didn't even look at it. I often don't like to look records too. I often like to buy it without really looking at it, so I can do that live, like on camera, and go through it together and get my natural reaction.
Sure.
So we bought the bin, $50. brought it back to the car, put the camera on the dashboard, and Matt and I went through it. And there was not one, but 2 chrono triggers in there. One was just the cart and one was complete in the box. So
wow.
we were shocked. For those of you that don't know, like a complete chrono trigger is probably like $800 to $1,000 now.
That stacks, yeah.
And that stayed in my collection, of course, until I needed the money and I couldn't justify having a $1,000 game on my shelf anymore. So that, in terms of video games, that was the big one. And I just grabbed a. So, in terms of record finds, now again, something I haven't done with my records is like I don't get home and look up values. I almost never do, right? I just care about, do I have this? Is it an upgrade?
Sure. Very evergreen experience, sure.
Yeah, so it just goes in here, and I know it's staying in the collection, so I don't necessarily even care, like, and it's the same with video games. For years, I didn't look up the values because I didn't care. If I needed it, it's just going in the collection. So, but I found this. This is Africa Bambaataa and Soul Force, Renegades of Funk. I had a garage sale, and I just saw it, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, you never bought it at a garage sale.
Sure.
This guy had some really interesting stuff. He had this one really cool psychedelic record in there too, and some just weird stuff that you don't typically see. So this guy was in there. I think this is probably my best. I did look this one up, and it was worth a couple $100, I think.
Sure.
And then that was the first time I learned that Renegades of Funk by Rage Against the Machine was not, in fact, by Rage Against the Machine, and was originally an Africa Bambaataa song. So that's what I mean, and that kind of sums up what I love about vinyl too, right? Like I've just discovered, and by no means do I ever consider myself an expert.
Of course,
you gotta
have humility and an openness to learn, for sure. That's what this hobby is. That's one of the things I really enjoy about it.
And there's just too much to know, right? Like on that video, I was called out about not knowing the name of the Zeppelin album. Like, okay, well, can you name Tribe Called Quest's second album? Like, no, you can't, right? Because that's your lane, and mine's 90s hip hop. That's an area where I know most things. I know a lot of things, right? But it's very hard to know everything there is to know about every single genre of music.
Yeah,
that's probably my best garage sale find, I think.
That's awesome. I know of. Well, similarly, like, what is one album every Canadian has to own, and why is it not Blue Rodeo? That's from my friend Rob, the Blue Rodeo fan in Northern Revolutions.
Oh my God!
Is it Gordon Lightfoot? Is it a Gordon Lightfoot album?
Gordon Lightfoot, that's a good one too. What else? Who else we got? We got Bare Naked Ladies.
Bare Naked Ladies. You could go Atlantis, Jagged Little Pill. I mean, there's.
You read my mind, man. Like that's one that actually came to my mind of, like, at the time when that came out, was I really into that album? No.
Sure.
But like when I hear the songs from that album back, I'm like, there's a lot of bangers on here. Like, I've always loved female artists. I just, pop, rap, whatever the genre. I've always loved, female voices in general. And that's a great album. I don't have it on vinyl. There's been a few times where I've almost pulled the trigger on it. So are we going to go with Jagged Little Pill? Yeah, that, or like the band. I think that qualifies as a, and I know it's kind of a split there. I think there's a couple Americans, a couple Canadians, I think. But we can go with that one too. No, let's go Jagged Little Pill. I feel like every Canadian, or either that or like a Bare Naked Ladies album.
Sure. Stuns or something. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about, let's end it on a musical tip. What's the last concert or the best concert you went to?
Last concert I went to was Shakira last month with my partner, who's Mexican. And it was quite the experience. It was awesome. I mean,
great.
Musically, the show, the production was fantastic. An arena filled with Latinas is something that I had never experienced before. And man, the energy, like, and just, oh my God, it was pretty awesome, actually. I haven't seen a lot of concerts, to be honest. I've seen the Beastie Boys. That was a good one back in the probably 2010s before
Ad Rock passed. Yeah.
Ad Rock passed away. Yeah. That was a great one. That's probably those two. I'm going to see Wu-Tang on Monday with my son.
Oh,
coming to Toronto for the farewell tour. So yeah, he's pretty excited about that. That's a proud moment when my son started getting into 90s rap, and Unfortunately, I've been trying to get him into it since he was a baby. It's all he's heard. There was no Kids Bop in my car. It was Wu-Tang.
No Wiggles, none of that stuff.
No, all 90s hip hop. But it took a girlfriend of his who had a love for 90s rap for him.
Sure.
Oh, I do love this stuff. I'm like, I told you.
Well, you're going to be in for a treat because I remember a similar thing. My boy's a little bit older. And the first time I took him to a concert, like I took him to a Metallica concert, and just hearing him like singing and just throwing his fist up and all that, like it's so cheesy, but it's so awesome because like when what you love, they love too, is like it's one of those great things about being a dad. Yeah.
And you'll never forget it, right? So, I saw the ticket price on this and I'm like, I can't pay this much money for tickets. And then I was like, he'll never forget this. It's his first concert. It's the end of an era. Like, it's their final tour, Wu-Tang. Exactly. So I'm a lifelong fan. I grew up on it, and he loves it too. So, yeah, pretty excited to go.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys have a great time. And I think this was a great conversation. Hopefully you agree, Charlie. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun getting to know you, hear about both sides of the collecting coin. The channel, again, is SeeJayAre. I'm going to spell it out. It's your initials, I'm assuming. That's what I always have been my hunting.
Yeah, that was my old Xbox.
Your handle. Yeah. So it's SeeJayAre. I'm terrible at spelling. I'm not dyslexic, I promise. Anyway, great conversation. Great to get to know you. And like I said, I've been watching from afar, so great opportunity to hear more about you and say hello. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
And that was another trip around the turntable. Thanks for listening to Vinyl Community Podcasts.